Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Let's Talk ETC. I have Sam of Rados with me. He's from Team Saturn, and Saturn is a group initiative that is developing some excellent products, which I'm sure you'll be impressed with. And Sam is going to tell us all about them. So welcome, Sam.
Welcome. Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
So for the people that don't know about Team Saturn, can you kind of just give a little introduction to yourself and the vision of Team Saturn, what you guys are and what you're doing?
Yeah, definitely. So, I think most people would know us as being a decentralized exchange that's currently deployed on Ethereum and Ethereum Classic. But our kind of vision and why we've kind of entered this industry and why we're doing what we're doing is because we kind of looked at the direction cryptocurrency was going and noticed that there was still, even though all these tools, blockchain, are kind of promoted to remove the middlemen, we could see that there was just a new kind of, I would say, a new wave of middlemen appearing, like big centralized exchanges that were kind of putting down a lot of fees for people to enter. If a development project wanted to get started, they couldn't really raise the necessary funds without having to think about all these exchange listing fees and start paying for all these services. So that was kind of the vision we kind of rolled with, was to give development teams an exchange that they can list their token on for free, which is automated, and make sure that it's accessible to everyone, that there's kind of no more kind of gatekeepers for using blockchain, basically.
Oh, see, okay, I didn't know that. I've never tried to place my own custom token on an exchange, but you're saying that there's fees and there's barriers to entry.
Yeah. So, if obviously an exchange like Coinbase or Binance, maybe that's an extreme, but given that they're so big, you can imagine that their listing fees are, they're in the millions. That's why you see when you look at the goals that kind of projects put on their crowd sale, they're always millions of dollars. And it kind of made little sense to us that why you need to worry about having to raise enough funds to pay all these listing fees, when really what you want to be focused on is building and being able to develop the tools that you've outlined in your white paper or that you've kind of promised to your community. So I would say anyone that has been following Team Saturn Network knows that, we believe in making releases before kind of promises, and making sure that if we announce anything, that it's actually that we can make sure it happens. Right. So I think in terms of how kind of traditionally crowd sales have happened in crypto, I think we're a little bit different in the sense that, one, our team is entirely anonymous, the core development team. And because of that, we've put an emphasis on being able to build and make our releases so that there's no kind of, that no one kind of thinks that we're just trying to scam investors or something like that.
Okay. And so can I ask where you guys are mainly located? Do you know where the people are located?
We're worldwide. So okay. We like to say that our jurisdiction is the blockchain, it's Ethereum, or it's Ethereum Classic.
Okay.
I would say that in terms of our philosophy, one of the reasons why we deployed on Ethereum Classic is because it aligns more with what we believe in terms of being immutable and giving that kind of extra censorship resistant kind of aspect.
Okay.
Which, a lot, it hasn't come to light so much on Ethereum, but if you look at what's happened on other blockchains, you read about, on Tron, that they stopped the whole of Japan accessing gambling dApps or something like that. So, right. These things kind of, if you're if you're promoting a project that is supposed to be accessible to everyone, then you need to be kind of developing on a blockchain that has a philosophy to remain decentralized. So that's why I would say Ethereum Classic really appeals to our project on the kind of philosophical side of things.
Okay, so let's why don't we switch to talking about your decentralized exchange? So for the people that don't know, the URL is saturn.network. And
yep.
So one thing that, well, you go ahead and introduce it, but one thing that especially caught my attention was what you said, how people can self-host their own tokens. They don't have to pay fees or as much fees as the other exchanges. So can you kind of talk about how more about how the decentralized exchange works?
Yeah. So I mean, we wanted our decentralized exchange, the protocol, to kind of be built for the people and governed by the people. So we didn't want there to be any kind of imbalance of power, anything that could stop a developer from being able to provide their community with a place to trade their tokens. So that's why our exchange supports automated token self-listing. You basically, if you do open the website, if you click on a trade button, you'll see in your URL, you'll see the token smart contract. So that's kind of how it works. You just enter in your token's smart contract, and if your token smart contract is compatible with the exchange, so if it's ERC20 or if it's ERC223, then everything will self-list automatically. The order book will open up, and as soon as you create the first order, then it will be listed forever. Okay. So we don't have any kind of rules in place. Like you see certain exchanges, if you're not meeting, if a project or a token is not meeting certain volumes or trading activity, then they'll delist the token even if they've paid for their listing fee. So that's something that we're completely against. So if once the token has been listed, there's no way that it can be removed from the platform.
Okay. Now, can you also is it just for custom tokens, or can you also like buy ETC on the decentralized exchange? Or
no, so it would just be for trading tokens. So you can trade Ethereum Classic tokens against ETC, and you can trade Ethereum tokens against Ethereum. So as it stands, there's no like crossover or cross chain trading in place, but obviously that's something we would love to achieve in the long term.
Okay.
That's very
okay. So then so it's not like you can't then like purchase cryptocurrency with a credit card to enter the cryptocurrencies. Okay, so you have to come in with your own.
Yeah.
Okay, that's okay.
So there is, I guess there is a kind of maybe a higher barrier to accessing it. Is if you were someone who has never heard of cryptocurrency before, then it would probably. I mean, you might probably have to read some guides before you get to the grip of it. But if you've used dApps before, if you've used MetaMask or Classic Mask or our own Saturn wallet, then I'm sure it shouldn't feel too difficult to navigate. I feel our UI is one of the easiest in terms of an exchange to follow.
Okay. Yes. We were talking about that before we started recording, right? So you have a very nice Saturn wallet, which is a fork of MetaMask, right? Can you kind of say something more about that?
Yeah, of course. I mean, it's a blockchain. How you say Explorer? Well, no, you don't say blockchain Explorer. You say a blockchain browser. That's what I was looking for. So it supports Ethereum Classic. And one of the reasons it came about is because when we wanted to deploy the decentralized exchanges smart contract on Ethereum Classic, we noticed there was no dApp browser or no working dApp browser at the time. And if you want people to actually trade on the exchange, it needs to be accessible. Not the average user is not going to know how to open a developer console and start typing in lines of code to make a trade happen. So the Saturn wallet makes it easy to interact with the exchange. So, you just open, it's a browser extension, so it's supported on Chrome, Firefox, or you can use it on Brave browser or Chromium, all those sort of Chrome-based browsers. It works on there as well. And then we've developed in a way that it makes it very easy to interact with our exchange. So if a token's already listed and you have a balance, it will pop up. You'll see the token's logo. You can click on there and go straight to the order book, or you can go to our forum as well, where you can read a bit about the token. And because we also put kind of a big emphasis on doing your own research, because obviously the exchange allows automated token self-listing. It means that there is a chance that someone could list a token with the same name but a different contract, that sort of thing. So we always we try to make it as easy as possible that you can find out as much information about the token as well, and that way you can make your own educated choice about if you want to buy it or sell it or trade. That sort of thing.
Actually, you just brought up something, right? So security. You said somebody could post a different token with the same name to trick people. So that leads me to my next question was as far as the whole question about security, because you're dealing with so much funds, right? That seems like that would be a very stressful situation to try to develop a fully automated.
I mean, in terms of security, it is a decentralized exchange. So the order book runs entirely on chain. So it's not like what you would call a hybrid exchange like Ether Delta or OX Project or one of these types of exchanges. Saturn Network's order book runs completely on chain. So we don't actually ever touch any of your funds. So if you do go and trade on, if you wanted to buy Onyx, which is an Ethereum Classic token, which is quite popular at the moment. If, for example, you wanted to buy Onyx, so you would need your coin ETC in your wallet, and then once you make the trade, the Onyx token will come directly into your wallet. So there's no having to deposit or withdraw or anything like that. So Saturn Network, or Team Saturn, if you want to think of it like that, never actually touches your funds. So that was another kind of big component of developing Saturn Network in the first place, because we have an interesting article on our blog as well, where we list kind of how many centralized exchanges have been hacked. And so obviously a decentralized exchange, if the architecture is kind of put together correctly, then it's not able to be hacked, because there's not actually any funds being held anywhere. So they're all in the smart contract.
Okay. So and I presumably you had geniuses write the smart contract. And check everything.
Yeah, I mean, then it comes down to if that would be another kind of reasoning behind why we like to develop on Ethereum Classic. Code is the law. That I wouldn't. Our smart contracts have been audited by our team. We've done all the tests that we feel are necessary. Nothing's come up, and we've been in operation for we've been developing in the industry for over 2 years now. The exchange has seen over 14,000 Ethereum Classic in volume. I'm pretty sure last time I looked at the statistics. So, there's never been any reports of any problems at all. So.
Okay, well, that's good. And so what was the reason that the team remains anonymous? Is that an asset, or do you think it would increase trust if people knew people's names, or can you speak about that?
Yeah, I mean, I would say, you could say it would increase trust. I would think in terms of fundraising, in the current kind of landscape of the industry, yeah, there's definitely, if we were if all our developers put their face on the product and things like that, maybe we'd be in a much bigger place than we currently are. But at the same time, couldn't you say that a decentralized exchange is truly decentralized if their CEO could be, picked up one day and then the whole thing gets shut down? Or, I mean, there's, I don't know,
Okay,
there's a lot of kind of fury crafting you could do around that. But in our kind of thoughts on it, if you want your exchange to be truly decentralized, then really the development team behind it should be remaining anonymous, and kind of taking that, I guess, like Satoshi path, if you want to call it like that.
Yes, I was thinking the same thing. So kind of like Satoshi Nakamoto. So you remain anonymous, so then that's not an attack vector people could use to. Okay.
Yeah. So that, and then also we're building the Saturn DAO, so a decentralized autonomous organization, which is going to govern the protocol. So I don't know if you're aware of, like a BISC network on Bitcoin, which kind of has a kind of similar setup where.
Why don't you kind of elaborate for the people that don't know? Kind of, do a quick summary.
Sorry?
Yeah, maybe you kind of do a quick explanation of the BISC network.
I mean, the BISC network on Bitcoin is a way to trade Bitcoin P2P. So you could find the similarities on trading on Saturn network, and then the whole thing is same. The development team is kind of anonymous, and they have a kind of a shared ownership setup where you hold kind of, I don't think it's a token, but you hold some sort of colored Bitcoin, and that way it allows you to vote on their protocol, and that way they can decide upgrades or changes into the development together. But that's kind of the same path that we're taking with Saturn Network. We're building the Saturn DAO, which will, because we have our own native tokens as well on Saturn token on Ethereum Classic, and then token holders will be able to, vote. I mean, I'm not exactly sure how that will look as it stands, but maybe there'll be a staking element in the smart contract, something like that, where you'll have to stake your tokens to make a vote, and then you can decide things together as a collective. You can decide the exchange's default fees and that sort of thing.
Okay. Now, okay. So now there's one thing I'm unclear about. So the exchange is decentralized. It's immutable. It's independent of any human, essentially.
Right.
But then with the DAO, where people are voting to change the fees, so then humans are able to change. You see what I mean? It's not complete.
Right. I mean, you would have to deploy, basically what to make any changes to our setup, you would have to deploy a new smart contract. And that, the old smart contract is not going anywhere. So if you really knew what you were doing, you could make your own mirror and continue trading on Saturn Network as its current version. If you're a developer and you know what you're doing, you can do that right now.
Okay.
Whereas, because our website is just an interface to trade with to use the smart contract. In the future, I would hope to see many kind of mirrors of our exchange, and that way we would really be truly decentralized in that kind of aspect as well.
I see. Okay, so that makes sense. So you're saying that any changes that have to be made to the exchange, whether they're security updates or fee changes, you simply make a new smart contract and you browser.
You would have to deploy a new one. So I think actually, if you go on Saturn Network, you're actually interacting with around 3 smart contracts, because there's on Ethereum Classic, we launched that that first, and then we had to make some changes. So there's actually two kind of exchange smart contracts running. But obviously, we didn't want to hide anyone's orders if they made it on the old smart contract. So the website just ensures it's all interfaced correctly together.
Right.
But yeah, once the DAO goes live, then if someone wanted to make an update, say they wanted to change the fees, or say they wanted to, I don't know, they could start a vote for kind of anything. So they wanted to change, maybe they wanted to put in a fee for token listing. Maybe they thought that free token listing was a bad idea. Then we would have to there would be a vote, and if the vote happens, then the smart contract would have to be developed, and then we'd get that audited, and then kind of have another vote to see if it actually gets upgraded, and then it would go live, kind of thing.
I see. Okay, I'm glad you explained.
Well, I think it kind of resembles how changes kind of happen to Ethereum Classic's own code when the proposals are made, and then people kind of talk about it, vote on it, and then the development happens, and it gets decided if it actually goes into the blockchain or not.
Right. Okay, well, I have a question for you. Okay, if you have to switch to a new version of something, the new version of the smart contract, what happens? How do you switch the tokens over? I assume you just copy the balances to the new smart contract. That's how you would do it?
So, like I said, you don't actually have to withdraw or deposit into the smart contract to make a trade. So, if you created like a sell order, obviously, so say you wanted to sell some Saturn Classic tokens at a set price, you would put that to create your sell order, and then obviously your tokens will be held by the smart contract while the order's up and people are buying off it until it's filled, and then you've received your Ethereum Classic and they've received their tokens and everyone's happy. And so if say your order was, I don't know, half completed and we decided to make an upgrade, then the new smart contract would be deployed. But the old one, it's not, like I said, it's never, you can't remove it from the blockchain, obviously. So it's still going to be there. We wouldn't really have to do anything. The website would just kind of interact with the new smart contract, and the old one would still be running as well.
I see. Okay, if
that makes sense. I'm not.
Yes. No, so the reason that when you make a new exchange, the token is a separate contract. That's why it's independent of the upgrade. So I understand.
Yeah. So if we have to upgrade the exchange smart contract, obviously that has nothing to do with any of tokens.
Right. Okay. Well, I think it's all very interesting. It sounds like you guys are doing brilliant work. We talked about the Saturn network, the decentralized exchange. We talked about the Saturn wallet. Is there any other tools that you want to share, you want to mention that your team is working on?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. We've recently announced a Launchpad service as well. We briefly talked about how we felt that services are kind of being gatewayed by these new kind of middlemen, which are either big kind of centralized exchanges or ICO calendar websites that seem to just kind of put excessive fees on everything. And one of the new ways that the investors and people seem to like to crowd sale at the moment is via what you refer to as a initial exchange offering, where teams will put their tokens on an exchange to be sold. So in the same way, we want to have that sort of same service. So we're building a Launchpad service so we can help development teams raise funds and kind of do their initial coin offering safely and securely in a way that makes sense. So we're calling that an initial decentralized exchange offering, so an EDO, if you will.
Okay.
And as always, that will be supported on Ethereum Classic as well. So if there's any projects that are currently developing and they have a token, and please get in touch. We'll definitely help them use our Launchpad service. And so that's one thing that's upcoming. And I mean, another thing I wanted to maybe ask yourself about as well is that we also have developed a way for people to tokenize gas, which is a gas token miner.
Okay.
I don't know if you're aware of that.
No, I'm not.
No, so it's around, I think it's called Project Chicago. And that is a way to kind of tokenize gas fees. And just some people to tokenize gas and turn it into a token. And then maybe in the future, you'll be able to, let's say Ethereum Classic's gas fees go up higher as more and more people use the blockchain. And you could maybe use these tokens in the future to kind of subsidize your paid gas fees. That's the idea.
I'm confused because right now, as you know, you purchase gas with ETC or on the Ethereum chain with ETH. So, so you're going to have a different token to purchase gas.
Yeah, I mean. It already exists. It's a kind of it's not a project that we started ourselves. This was started by a different team. All we did was put in place a way that you can generate mine your gas tokens now. If you think that, I mean, I guess it's kind of speculation at this point. If you could see it making sense in the future.
I see.
And we've released that tool some time ago, and I don't know. This kind of had mixed results, where some people see it as a kind of attack on the network, and other people see it as a way to do something if the network isn't really being used that much.
I see.
So I don't know. I wanted to see if maybe you were aware of that, but
no, I wasn't.
If not.
Yeah, but the idea is to protect yourself if the gas fees shoot up.
Yeah, so that's why as it stands on Ethereum, I don't think it would make much sense. You would probably end up losing money. Whereas currently on Ethereum Classic, your gas fees are very, very low. Mm-hmm. So I know that some of our community mine it, and some people are kind of speculating that in the future, the gas will be more expensive. So why not mint these gas tokens while we can, sort of thing.
Okay. All right. Very good. So, all right. So I think we've given a pretty good introduction to Team Saturn and the exchange. Did I forget anything, or did we cover most of what we wanted to cover?
No, I mean, I think we've covered everything there. I mean, if you want to learn more, please give our exchange a visit, saturn.network, or our blog has a wide range of articles that covers many things related to cryptocurrency. That's blog.saturn.network, and there's a lot of great information on there. So I think that's if we've piqued your interest, then please give our websites a visit, and feel free to get in touch if you want to learn more.
All right, very good. And I have to end with this compliment. So I've done, I don't know, almost 70 shows, around 70 shows, and I've talked to a lot of people doing applications. Your team and the products that you're developing are probably the most sophisticated that I've seen.
Wow.
I mean, you guys, the DAO, right? The Saturn DAO, the decentralized exchange, all of it is just, it's wow. I'm just.
I mean, I can't take much credit for all that, but I'm sure our developers will listen to this interview and they'll be very happy to hear.
All right. So thank you, Sam, for enlightening us, and I wish you the best of luck on your future.
Great. Thank you.
All right, bye.
Bye.